it is going to be an answer hour that's specifically for your group administrator questions or any issues that you all are having. So this will be pretty similar to the last group admin answer hour that we did. I usually have the format a little bit different for these just because there are a lot of trends and frequently asked questions regarding group management. I'm going to go ahead and record this just so it can be available after this answer hour. And if you have any questions or would like to see anything demonstrated throughout, please just feel free to put that in the chat and I will be monitoring that as we go through. So just our agenda today, I'm going to go through some of the frequently asked questions that we've been getting for group administrators. Now, some of these are likely going to look pretty familiar to what we covered in the last answer hour, but I just want to make sure that we're really answering everyone's questions and explaining everything. We'll do a Q&A and some demo if needed, and then I'll talk a little bit about our upcoming answer hour sessions. So this is our list of frequently asked questions. Users that are stuck in pending, changing permissions for users, dashboard questions, questions regarding the My Claims queue and assigning those claims, permission allocation, and then for those of you who have TPA and insurer entities, just those different groups, and those should be set up. So jumping right into these questions, the top one regarding users who are showing as pending. We did have a defect a few weeks ago where some users were getting stuck in the pending invites. That is resolved. So if you're still seeing that for some reason, what I would recommend is checking to make sure that that user is registered in campus. What I've seen with a few people is that the invite has been sent to them. They think that they're registered in campus, but for some reason there was a typo when they entered in their email address. So in those instances, you can work with us. We can help you that. But if somebody in your group has the correct email address, they're showing up as pending, and you know that they've already registered in campus, please just send us a message so we can kind of troubleshoot that one with you, as that should no longer be occurring. Next one, how do I change permissions for users? So with the permissions, they're very flexible. You can either set them when you initially invite your users, or you can set them later on. They can be changed throughout the life of that user in campus. It's all very flexible. I'm going to go ahead and get into my test system really quickly here, and I can demonstrate some of that. So this is likely a screen that looks very familiar to most of you by now. You can click up here on your name, click on my groups. You can see here I'm in a few different groups. I'm just going to go ahead and go into Up North Insurance. So if I needed to change permissions for somebody, I would click this little kebab menu, the Manage Group, and then I can just choose from all of these users. I'm going to choose Angela Thompson. Now, if I need to adjust her permissions, I can edit here and say I'm not going to give her any permissions. I click the little trash cans to get rid of those. Now, something else that I want to demonstrate, since we've been in campus for a little bit, and some of you are possibly experiencing some of this, is just the ability to remove a user. So with that, what I would highly recommend you do is make sure that you have the proper permissions for claim access. You may not need to do this if the user is not associated to any specific claims and is only associated with global claim view, global claim access. But if you need to remove a user, what I would recommend is going into the Manage Cases and Claim Access, edit, selecting remove access and select all claims, and then just selecting that user who's no longer going to be part of your group. As I mentioned, this likely is not something that you would have to do, but it's just a good step to make sure that that person would not have access to anything once they're removed from the group. So in this process, it's removing the claim access from Angela Thompson. Then what I'd want to do is go back into my groups, go to Up North Insurance because I want to take her out of that group, select her name, and just click Remove Member. So what this is going to do is it's going to make it so that that person is no longer part of your group. They would no longer be able to file on your behalf. They would not have access to any of your files. So that's just a kind of a step if you have somebody who's moving or is maybe no longer handling claims, moving to a different part of your company and doesn't need campus access. That is a very good thing to do. You can also contact us if somebody has left your organization and their campus account needs to be removed. We can actually fully deactivate that on our end as well. Jumping back into the slides. This third bullet point is one that we get pretty frequently about the dashboard that looks different than the standard dashboard. So the reason for that would be the trading partner group involvement. So if you're part of a trading partner group, you're always going to have the trading partner dashboard. Now that is going to be a little bit more technical. It's got stats about EDI filings, first actions, things of that nature. So if you're an adjuster and your company does not do e-forms, you're sending EDI and you are seeing that really busy dashboard with a lot of stats, I would recommend just touching base with your supervisor or another group administrator and determining whether or not you actually need access to the trading partner dashboard. That one does have just a lot of information. So if you're not in the very technical side, it may not be of use. I'm going to take a look here. It looks like I've got some information in the chat just regarding one email sent to individuals who have access removed. We do still have that set up for one email per claim. I did log that as a feedback item for us to review. So just to kind of recap that process, what we do is we take a look at all of those feedback items and kind of try and prioritize them to see what we can bring into scope. So please know that if you suggested something, we definitely have documented it. It doesn't mean that we will be able to implement it now. It may be a little while in the future until we're able to do that. But we will be trying to do a little bit better job of indicating when we've moved those items into scope. So currently it is still going to be one email per claim, just because that is still how it is set up. But we do have the documentation that people would like it to just be your claim access has been removed. All right, so back to the dashboard question. As I mentioned, if you don't need to be in that trading partner group, it may just be easier to not have yourself or your adjusters in that group. Again, I will emphasize that that is specifically going to be for companies who do not file e-forms, who file EDI. If you're an e-form user, you are going to be in that trading partner group since you are manually entering those forms from the trading partner dashboard. The My Claims queue is empty on adjusters' profiles. How is this populated? I'll get back into my system here. So this is something that you can either elect to handle on your handle with your group, or you can handle it via global claim access. So if you assign global claim access to your adjusters, they would be able to see any of the claims. They would just need to navigate to them through the entity details page and go to the related claims tab. if they want them to be on their dashboard, what you would do is you would go to the Manage Claim and Case Access. Now from here, you can select a claim one at a time, or you can bulk edit. That's what I just showed you all earlier with that, with removing that claim access from Angela. If you bulk edit, you can either select all the claims, or you can select a subset of claims. So I'll just go ahead and pick a few here as an example. You'll want to select whether you're going to grant or remove access. Then you'll want to select who in your group should have access to those files. I'm going to click here. And I'll work on it while it's granting me access. Now, if I go out to this page, you'll see that my open claims are now showing a different view. Looks like I do have a question here. When should we be expecting to see our diaries and notifications populating on our dashboards? We don't have any kind of diary system in campus, so you would want to be keeping track of that in your own system if there's actions that you need to take. As far as notifications, let me know exactly what you are referring to, and I can hopefully shed a little bit of insight on that. How do we bulk edit if we can't look up more than one claim at a time when assigning them? So to bulk edit, you should be able to just run through the list and you check them one at a time. Or you can bulk edit everything. So in here, I think what you might be referring to is if you click here, you edit the members with access. When you bulk edit, you can just press the bulk edit button, and then you can actually select as many claims as you want from this list. And after you've grabbed all of those, grant access, and then the group member who you want. So you would want to use that bulk edit button, and that'll give you the ability to select multiple claims from the list. And Tammy, I see your comment there. I'll go ahead and see if there is a way that we can possibly make it a little easier for you all to find those claims in the bulk edit. I'll log that issue as well. All right, I'm gonna hop back into my slides while I answer these questions. So Trisha, just to piggyback off the last question, will we be seeing a notification like you have a FROI that was filed on this date and the next action would be due this date? We do not have those set up just because it's very difficult to know exactly when the next action would be due. In those circumstances, it's very, very dependent on what is submitted. That is something that I can certainly take away. I can see if that's something we could possibly implement down the road. The next question, is it possible to sort the claims in alphabetical order when you're doing a bulk edit? Jacqueline, that's another really good idea. So I will make sure that I add that as well. By employer is a good one too, Tammy. Another question here just about what notifications would be populating regarding documents that were missing or needed to be uploaded. That would be, you may get emails with that information. I don't believe that those would populate in your notifications. You might get a notification if like a new document was submitted on a file, but you should be getting an email if there's like a request for information. John, we can take the feedback for separating the date of injury from the employee name and claim number. And again, just to clarify, I will take all of this down and make sure that it's documented, but just to set the expectation. It's definitely feedback. It's something that we can take, and it may be something that we can implement in the future. I wouldn't be able to provide a timeline for when we would get that implemented. I know something else that we've heard quite a bit is regarding the automatic assignment to adjusters based off the email addresses put in EDI filings. And that is something that we are looking into right now to see if it's something we could pull in the near future. And Tammy, I saw your question, the ETA for correcting the multiple groups for the same TPA. We're working through that actively right now. I don't know the exact ETA, but I can send you an email once I can consult with the people that are working on that to see if we can get an ETA for you. All right, so going back into the slides, how should each of the permissions be allocated to my group members? This is a question that we get a lot. The biggest permission, I would say that's pretty common amongst people who work for insurers or TPAs, is that global claim access. So obviously you all are going to be group administrators, so you should have that permission, but the next common permission is going to be the global claim access. That's likely the one that most or all of your group are going to have. The rest of the permissions, I have some recommendations for that you can or cannot take depending on what you want to do. What I would recommend for the rest of these, group administrators, people usually have 1 to 2 group administrators. You can certainly add more. Service of process designee and designated contact for information requests and penalties from DLI. The easiest way to do this is just to assign it to 1 person or maybe 2 people. They would receive all of the documents related to these. So if you send it to everybody or assign it to everyone in your group, it can certainly get a little overwhelming for them. What some other people are doing is creating an additional campus account and assigning it to someone like an admin staff or a supervisor, and then designating that specific account to receive the service process, the designated contact for information request, and the designated contact for penalties. As I mentioned, you would need to set up a separate account for that. So whomever is in charge of that would just need to have multiple logins. So you'd have 2 logins. But you can certainly do that with these 3 permissions. And I apologize, I'm kind of reading the questions as I go through here. So if we provide global claim access to our staff as an administrator, do we need to go and do bulk edit to allow access to all claims each day? No, you should just be able to view those in the entity details page. If you still have claims that your adjusters can't view, send me an email so that I can look into those just with those claim numbers on your end. It's possible that we're still waiting on a UR for those. It's possible that they may not be aligned to the correct group. So send me an email if that's your issue, and I can certainly look into that. And Denise, your comment is very, very relevant to this discussion. So it was my understanding that we could only designate 1 person for penalty contacts. That is not true. You should be able to designate multiple people for every single one of these permissions. It's just whatever works best for your company. So another one would be your designated contact for assessments. That kind of fits into the same group as these, but just kind of depends on what your company does as far as assessments. If you have 1 person who you want all of that to go to, I know that's kind of a rarely used permission that only comes up maybe once or twice a year. Profile management designee, this is going to be whomever is responsible for adding addresses or changing the name of your entity. Any changes that are made to those profiles actually come into DLI. We review those and either approve them or deny them. Claim access administrator, this would be a permission that you would grant to do that bulk claim access that we were just looking at, or the individual claim access within that page. I know some companies have assigned this to their adjusters so that they can grab their if they'd like. That's certainly something that you could do if you'd like, because many people can have this permission as is necessary for your group. And then the global claim access, again, that is just giving everyone in your group the ability, or the certain individuals in your group, the ability to view all the claims that are associated with your entity. There was just a question here regarding the service of process designee, asking if it's necessary to have anyone assigned to that, as documents should still be coming from attorneys and QRCs. You would want to have somebody assigned to that, because a lot of the documents that you used to get from the attorneys and QRCs are now being served via campus. So you would want to have at least one person assigned to that service of process designee so that you can get those from your attorneys and QRCs through the system. One other thing that I do just want to mention, this isn't specific to group admins, but it is a question that has come up quite a bit with group admins. If you have a user who needs to change their email address for some reason, you don't have to contact the department, and you actually don't need to worry about that as a group administrator. Each user actually has the ability to update that email address themselves. So if any of the people in your group need to change an email address, they would just log in, they would click Edit Profile, and then simply just update their email address and press Save. They can also reset a password from here if needed. But if they change their email address, they just need to confirm it, make sure that it's correct, and then they would get a notification indicating that their email address had changed, and then that is the email that they would log into the system with in the future. Another question here. For emails received for a confirmation of a document submission, is it still in talks about adding claimant name on the auto-populated email? Would definitely help instead of only having the confirmation number, and possibly including the file type as well. Yes, so that is definitely something that we are working on. Since there are privacy concerns and security concerns with the data that we provide in those emails, that one is something that we are looking into. You all certainly are not the only group to request a little bit more information on those emails. We are working to see if that's something that we can maybe start including in those emails. So like I said, we've got that logged, we're working through it. So we just ask you all to be patient as we kind of try and figure out some solutions regarding that issue. I'm going to go ahead and get back into my slides here again. I think the last question we had here was, my company operates as an insurer in TPA, and do we need to have separate groups? So in that instance, you would have separate groups for your TPA and your insurer entity. You may or may not need to put everybody in both groups. It just depends on what you would like for them to see. And then finally, I know we're running a little short on time, so I just wanted to touch base regarding the scheduling for future answer hours. So we will not be holding any answer hours next week or the following week, just because it's holiday. We know a lot of you and a lot of your staff are going to be out of the office. So we plan to resume with these on January 4th, or the week of January 4th. Regarding this specific one for group administrators, is this something that you all are finding helpful, or would you rather us just roll this content into the answer hours that we already have for insurers, TPAs, trading partners? Any feedback you have in the chat would be great. If we see that there's still a need to have these, we can certainly continue scheduling them in 2021. And with that, I'm not seeing anything else in the questions. I see it would be helpful to continue these, so we can definitely plan to continue these in 2021. With that, if there are no other questions, I'll go ahead and give you all a few minutes back. As always, just let us know if anything comes up or if you're running into any questions or issues with group management. Please either send them to the help desk or you can send them to me. I may have a little bit of a delay in a response. I've got quite a few emails. I apologize if I'm trying to get back to any of you and it's taking some time. Quite a few emails in my inbox right now. So if you have any questions or anything you need, you can feel free to send them to the help desk or send them my way, and I will get to them as soon as possible. Thank you all so much for your continued participation in these answer hours. It is so great to get your questions and your feedback. We will touch base in January. Have a great day, everybody.